Hey, fellow patriots, I'm Bree.
And I'm Blaze. Some call me Pa. It has been said that we have 4 boxes to keep ourselves free. These are the soap box, the ballot box, the jury box, and the ammo box.
And we are the 4th box. We are here to arm you with enough information, resources, and skills to take back your freedom, increase your self-sufficiency, and inspire you to join in the fight against tyranny.
Thomas Jefferson said, "Eternal vigilance is the price of liberty." Thank you for joining us and for joining in this fight.
Welcome back to the 4th box.
Well, I fulfilled my list, my checklist.
Oh, okay. Beer is cold.
Yeah.
Hair is combed.
And he has his best clean shirt, his best dirty shirt on.
Yeah.
His cleanest dirty shirt. There's a song about that.
Yeah. Sunday morning coming down.
Yeah.
Chris Christopherson.
Yeah.
All right, this is good. We're already good stuff here. So I think we're ready, right? Let's just get right into it.
Hell yeah, we're ready.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, hell yeah. So welcome, everybody, back to another week at the 4th box, our 81st episode. I can't believe we've been doing this long. Feels like we've been complaining about the same things for 81 weeks. And I'm sure that's not going to change for 81 more. But this week we're excited to be joined by one of our normal faces. We've seen several times. Denny, he's one of our favorite beer drinkers. He likes to join us on the show. He always has good commentary. So welcome back, Denny.
Thank you. Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Our pleasure. So, Pops, get us started for the night, if you would.
Yeah, greetings going out to all of our friends and patriots around the country and all those seeking to regain their liberty and restore the republic. That's why we're here, and we welcome you to the 4th box studio, tucked safely away in the virtual Buckman Tavern. You know, it's a place that patriots gather. And we're happy you're joining us tonight. As you mentioned, sending out a toast tonight to Paul, another longtime listener who supports us financially, stops by periodically, drops a little money off in support of the 4th box. We are very grateful for Paul. So, Paul, when you're listening, we thank you very much for the continued support. And as you mentioned, also raising my can of water tonight since I'm abstaining this week, but joining in the toast with Denny and you and all of our friends around the country to Paul and Denny. Cheers.
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 So I did have a quote tonight, another one of my favorite folks to quote. He says, "Rather than love, than money, than fame, give me truth." And that is Henry David Thoreau. And we've used a couple of his lines before. And I think with the topic we've been on for the last week or two related to Epstein stuff and other things going on, I think many of us and many more are waking up to the notion that the government has not been truthful with us for a very long time. And it's time to get to the bottom of it. If we have any hope in restoring the liberties that we once had and the blood of our forefathers purchased for us, we need to have truth.
Amen to that. Yeah. There's so much deceit constantly, and that's so many of the points that I want to bring up tonight, just how much distraction is constantly going on. I mean, obviously this Epstein conversation is in the forefront of all of our minds still, and it should be. There's a lot of different voices that are, it's so hard to sift through the noise with this conversation. There are so many people that are so, it's a whole Trump thing. This Trump started this mess, and that's the reason we're in this mess, and that's a whole conversation in itself. Then you have people that are like, Trump is still playing 4D chess. You just wait. It's all going to work out. Let's just take Trump out of the picture altogether. There's so many boxes that haven't been looked under yet with the whole Epstein thing. It's just, the veil that covers this entire conversation is so thick, so deep, so heavily protected by people around the globe that it's hard for us to sit here and even have the conversation about it, because what do we really know? I mean, we're receiving information that's been through so many levels of bias, it's hard for us to even pick through it and determine what is reality. The question that is popping into my mind today is how much of the other stuff going on is there to distract us from the Epstein thing? And then how much of the Epstein thing is there to distract us from something even bigger?
Yeah, I think that's certainly the way I've been looking at it. In fact, I mentioned to Christina earlier today, I think it was, that the whole Comey, Clapper, Brennan, Obama administration now coming under scrutiny, and some suggestions that they're going to be brought in and questioned. Is this to take us away from the Epstein thing? Because we know, quite honestly, it's very unlikely that we're going to see Obama in an orange suit or Clinton's in an orange suit or maybe some mid-level peon down the road may end up bearing the whole weight of this fiasco. But it's amazing to me. We've talked about it before. You see government rallying around itself, and this is completely oblivious to party lines. They protect themselves. They protect the insiders, and to me, that's what's going on. There's all kind of big stories bubbling to the surface, and I'm sure you're going to talk about some of them. But how much of them are a creation to distract from the other one? And the other thing would be, is there going to be a bombing someplace? Is there going to be another war flare up someplace to distract us? And all of a sudden, everybody's focused over here. And all of this noise and attention that's being given to a couple of very big topics that should be rooted out and should be got to the bottom of to determine what level of corruption and to root out those that participated. All of a sudden, is it likely something's going to happen to distract us from all of those things?
I think that's absolutely what will happen. I mean, that's their playbook. How many times have they done it? They continuously do it.
Yep.
It's just, yeah. And I don't know. I get a little bit upset with, I mean, so much can change with a tweet,
Right.
whoever puts it out. Or I was very upset with a little AI video that I think Trump put out. It showed, them cuffing Obama and he's in an orange suit or whatever. That's not the way our government should be run. I was very disappointed. I mean, that's kind of, come on, you're putting out cartoons to
Yeah.
show
Yeah.
what you want to happen. I wasn't
Right.
entertained at all. To me, it was disgusting.
Bread and circuses.
That's it,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, but I think
I think
so many people get caught up in that. Oh, look, that's what's going to happen to Obama. No, it's not. You're
yeah.
not going to see Obama in cuffs. You're not going to see Epstein files. We might as well face it. In my
Yeah.
opinion, we've been duped. We've been played. I had
Yeah.
a short conversation with a friend of mine last week. And what got me was that this person originally was not a Trump fan. And when we were talking, I told him that I was very disappointed with what's going on. Well, you have to, look what he's done. He's done this, he's done that. And I says, it's not enough. And they said, well, what are you expecting? Them to go in there with a wrecking ball and a bulldozer? I said, absolutely, that's what I'm expecting because that's what it's going to take.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at with this whole show, and I just got to call it what it is. In my opinion, it's a show.
Yeah. I'm totally with you there. And that's what makes everybody question, is he just part of this ruse? Has he always been? Has he been literally bred for this moment where he has the American people behind him and we stand down when he does even worse stuff? Stuff that, if it were somebody who was a Democrat, we'd all be raising hell about.
Yeah,
But we're not because it's Trump and he's our guy. It's like,
yeah.
maybe this was the whole point. And it's so hard to see through it to the point that we've all just been making here. How do you even begin to
I
see
don't.
through it? But I do want to back up a little bit. I mean, obviously, we haven't talked about this whole Obama RussiaGate thing on here.
Mhm.
So, what are even the thoughts on this from you guys?
Well, I think we've kind of touched on it going in. Is it theater for something else? Is it giving the support that Trump has? Is it giving them some food? Look, we're doing something. We're going after these people that did things that we were in disagreement with, whether or not. Go ahead.
I want to pause you for a minute because let's back up for a little bit. Who maybe, if anyone's listening to this who doesn't even know what's going on with that, and maybe
Okay.
that's not realistic, but let's just explain a little bit the Obama situation, the Tulsi Gabbard declassifying the files, explain it a little bit, and then we'll go from is this even real or not?
Sure. So, during the Trump campaign, there was a dossier created by somebody, or it was delivered by somebody supposedly to corroborate Trump being in cahoots with Russia. So the term was coined Russian collusion, which was used as a bludgeon on the Trump campaign during the campaign years. So, as we've talked many times, the American public very gullible. All you have to do is have some TV programs suggest that Trump has been colluding with the Russians so that they can benefit each other should Trump become president. And this whole story became the talking point during the whole campaign. Largely
Right.
had some influence on the campaign and the outcome of the election, along with other dirty deeds that had gone on, some of which we've talked about in the past. So this was the underlying story. There was something put together to frame Trump or to make it look as if Trump was somehow involved with subterfuge with the Russians. So all of that went by the wayside as the years went by. And now that Trump is back in office, he had promised to be investigating several things and to resolve several things. And I'll be the first to give him credit for getting after the border right away. I think that was a great thing out of the gate. One of the great things he did out of the gates was to go down and seal up the border, because I think the whole country at large was starting to come to grips with the idea that having the border flooded by thugs and drugs was not great for the country. So I think that was universally or almost universally met with approval. But after that, I think the whole Doge thing was a joke. I don't think there was anything of substance that came out of that. It was minuscule compared to the waste and fraud that goes on within government. But to go back to the Russian collusion thing, we don't want to get too sidetracked here. That was the basis of the story that we're going to talk about tonight, which is now are stories breaking that would suggest James Comey, Clapper, John Brennan, were all of the people running the intelligence agencies were involved. This is what the suggestions are with the documents that Tulsi, the head of DNI, is it, or what, the National Defense, or whatever,
National
intelligence,
intelligence.
national intelligence. Yeah. That's kind of an oxymoron if the federal government's involved.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, there's stories breaking that she's making available paperwork that would suggest these people were involved with creating this dossier that helped set up the whole Russia collusion story.
And we're talking treason.
Sure.
What they're pushing, treason, which I guess can go from 5 years in prison to $10,000 fine to death. So it's a pretty broad
range of punishment available.
Yeah, touche. So, yeah, I mean, I just wanted to kind of give that background story, and maybe anyone listening to this podcast has already kind of seen that in the news. But then, yeah, I mean, that's the question for me through all of this is this even reality? Like, are we just throwing something in the news? Are Trump and Obama just yucking it up behind the scenes? Like, we have them distracted again with a promise. We're going to tell them that, we're going to make this promise. Oh, we're going to hold somebody accountable for once. Give me an example of a time you've held anybody in government accountable. Let's look at the Doge thing. Okay, great. They finally went ahead and voted on $9 billion in cuts. Is that really even anything? And to me, it looks like the only cuts that are being made from this waste, fraud, and abuse that's been uncovered is the people that, maybe slandered the Trump administration.
Yeah.
PBS. And obviously, USAID, there's a lot of issues there, but why are we not cutting across the board? We want to talk about accountability. Yeah. You want to pretend that you're being transparent with us now by declassifying these files. These aren't the files we've been asking for. and you're going to tell me that we're going to hold somebody accountable? Name a time you've ever done it. Republican, Democrat, none of you have ever done it.
Can I jump in because of something you said really sparked something in my mind here? Last 2 weeks ago now, there was an event called Red Pill Expo. It was put on by G. Edward Griffin. G. Edward Griffin, which I'm sure you know, wrote the book The Creature from Jekyll Island, which is when it happened, 1933, when bankers and politicians got together and basically started the Fed. So
Yeah.
his topic, which I'm glad I got to see because this thing was live streamed over this weekend, 11th, 12th, and 13th, and it went on like 8 or 10 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I caught his 20 or 30 minute talk at the end. The guy's 94 years old. He comes out on stage. He's complaining because his computer crashed or his printer won't work, and he had a sheet of paper with his notes, handwritten notes on it.
Yeah.
And he basically said what you just said. His topic was what's the art of war, the
Shinzu.
Shinzu. Okay, so and he bounced around a little bit, but he says, all right, one of the things is you appear strong when you're weak and weak when you're strong.
Mm-hmm. Deception.
And exactly. So as you alluded to, Bree, was Trump a plant? Was this whole thing set up? He said that exactly without saying it exactly.
Right.
You know, and he alluded to that, and I found it very interesting because it's exactly what you're saying. Could this have all happened? You know, all right, here we are. We have this candidate and this candidate. I'm going to vote for the less of two evils.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
he ended it pretty. I mean, a guy again, 94 years old, sharp as a tack, and he's putting on.
Yeah.
I don't know how long these expos have been going on. For sure, since 2018, and it may have been before that.
Mm-hmm.
But his final message was question everything.
Yep.
And
well, that's just it. That's what's so mind-boggling to me about all this stuff that I'm hearing. Like, maybe you've seen it too. I even saw something pop up, you know, the chef, Obama's chef that had drowned a couple months. I don't even remember how long ago that was. A few months back.
Right.
6 months. Who knows? Whatever. I don't know when it was, but
last summer, I think.
Yeah.
Or last. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, probably. It may have even been a year, but I mean, that didn't make any crazy headlines or anything. But, you know, now lately I've been seeing, allegedly he was writing an expose on the Obama family. It's like all this stuff. Everything I see like that, I'm like, but was he? I literally don't know anything I read from any news source. I'm like, I don't know how to decipher anymore because there is so much shit. And actually, I wanted to talk. I mean, I've got kind of a lot of ranging ideas floating around in my head tonight, but one of them you might have seen a bunch of flashy headlines. You know, Speaker Mike Johnson shuts down the House early. It shuts down the House until September because of the Epstein files. And that may be true. But the thing that these headlines are excluding is that the House would have closed on the 24th until September. They're closing 1 day early. And then you have these headlines that are like, Republicans holding up House votes until September because of not wanting to release Epstein information. It's like, dude, closing 1 day early for the summer recess that they have every year that doesn't even have anything to do with Epstein. Because if it did, I mean, that problem is not getting solved in 1 day. I can tell you that. It's like, when you have news headlines like this all the time, people panic. It's panic, because that's what manipulates everyone. You just instill fear, and then you control how they act. We talked about this in like episode 3.
Yeah.
If I have you scared, I can control what you do, period.
That goes back so many things again you talked about there that I want to touch on, but that goes back to a lot of conversations we had related to COVID and me suggesting it's a test balloon. The test balloon was to see how quickly they could make the American public at large, not every one of us individually, but society at large, how quick could they make them jump from this box to that box and back to this box? And I think it was proved to them they can say anything. They know the public largely, if it comes across the traditional news outlet, TV station, the public's largely going to take it at face value for what they're told, and that's what they're going to believe. The point you make about the House shutting down for summer recess a day later makes no difference. The headline is that Johnson shut the House down.
Yeah.
And to answer the question about is anybody going to get prosecuted or is anything going to go forward, you might recall as late as in March, Trump was the one saying about how all the Epstein stuff was going to be brought forward. Now, several months later, he says in public, are we still talking about this?
And calling his base stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So, to your point, don't trust anything that any of them say because they've been proven to lie to us for the last 150 years because every single one of them put up their hand and swore to do something that none of them have done. So anything from that point going forward is not trustworthy. It's not worth believing. So will any of them go down? My bet is no. Will there be a lot of theater about it? Hell yeah. Will it end up becoming a Republican and Democrat thing so that the upcoming elections will be influenced? Absolutely. Will anything change at the end of the day? No. Like we suggested last week, because it's a uniparty. It is them, those on the inside, versus us, those who are not. And they've been stealing from us. They've been plundering the inheritance that was won by the blood of our forefathers. They've been exploiting children, and they're hiding it from us. Like you said last week, these are the very people that commit these kind of acts and then tell us how much we owe.
Yeah.
And we are just stupid enough, just distracted enough that we tolerate it. We tolerate it.
Yeah, but not just that, right? We're just afraid enough, too. That's the whole point. They have us scared of everything. They have us scared to sit on a podcast like this and actually say what we actually think. They have people afraid to speak what they think is reality. They have people afraid to do anything about it. There might be people who aren't stupid. There might be people who aren't distracted. But they're not going to do anything because that's how big of a threat the government that is supposed to be our public servants are to us. They're not our servants. They're a threat to us. They're a threat to our, not just freedom, but our safety. If we can't publicly speak out about this stuff, they're not our public servants.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just they have us scared. Going back to G. Edward Griffin, he wrote Creature from Jekyll Island. I think it was published in 1994. In 1974, he wrote another book, A World Without Cancer. He was friends with, I don't know if the doctor's name was John, but his son's name is John Richardson. This guy, the apricot seeds, he was curing people with vitamin B17 or B17, Laetrile. And he was having great success. Well, it got out. The feds raided his office, took his filing cabinets, arrested some of his staff, shut him down. His son, I don't know how old he was, this John Richardson, which has Richardson, he has a company. Now, I seen a podcast he did where he sat on all this information for years and years and years because he was afraid to say anything because he seen what they did to his father. Well, finally now he come out. So yeah, you're absolutely right. They do have us scared. And as long as people sit there and watch that television, as the lies come through, if that's constantly what's put into your mind, most of them are going to believe it.
Right.
Good example of how long ago was it, Blaze? I burned a CD from The Strangest Secret. And that's exactly what this guy is saying. And do you remember that? I sent it to you, or I gave it to you. It was, you become what you think about.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well, what are we?
Yep.
We're constantly bombarded with this. They're telling us what to think. It's imprinted on your mind. If that's all you hear, that's all you think about.
Yeah. Well, I remember last week, Bree, you made a comment, and I really thought it was powerful about society being conditioned to recognize or assume that we can't do anything about it. I
Yeah.
don't know how you framed it, but that was the general point, that we are conditioned and have been conditioned for so long. You were talking about the Mountain Dew theory and these things being revelation
Revelation
being
of the
exposed
method.
to us just to show us that you can't do anything about it anyway. And I think that's largely true. But if there were some kind of a plan, I think people would rally. And as people rally, there's strength in numbers, and people's confidence level and fear goes away when you feel like you're not standing on an island. And that's why they've largely been successful. Talk about the art of war. They keep us all believing that we're kind of standing on an island, and there's not many of us that have this feeling. But just like the old cartoon that we used to share over the years, where all the people are bent down under the Monopoly board as the fat cats are playing Monopoly, and it says the game is over when we stand up. That is still true.
Absolutely.
We just have to find a way to coalesce so we stand up in unison, because if you show up in Washington, D.C., with 500,000 people or 1,000,000 people, and a few thousand of them stroll through the Capitol building after the doors are held open for them, those people can end up being thrown into prison, and the justice system again protects those inside.
Yeah.
When you were talking a little bit ago, it made me think about a subject that our good friend Sheriff Mack and Sam was talking about today. The Amish people down in Kentucky or Tennessee or someplace down that way that have been incarcerated for up to 6 years because they were not. They were sharing unpasteurized milk within their community. And now there's a guy down there who's been locked up for 6 years. And we, the people, tolerate that. We, the people, have the tools to end all of that stuff. That's jury nullification, one of the things we talked about in the beginning. But we allow ourselves to be buffaloed into believing we have no power. And so we have a perfectly innocent man, docile, is not a criminal, but because he served unpasteurized milk to his friends and neighbors, he's in jail for 6 years, I believe. This is
Yeah.
this is so unacceptable, and we sit on our hands and we allow ourselves to be distracted with other stuff, and we have never found, and none of us have, and we've been talking about this for 30 years, none of us have found a way to rally where we could make a significant difference. Just going down in the ballot box, I know we all want to believe it's going to work and don't do anything. We're putting the same people back in, as we've talked many times. And I know you got a lot of other stuff, so let's roll through some other subjects.
Oh yeah, we could go
Well,
on for a long time.
I know, and that's just it. I'm like, man, I've got so many points I want to make here, but I do want to jump to another subject. But it ties in a little bit here, right? Because you bring up the point of raw milk, and one thing I really wanted to get to tonight that does tie into so many different subjects here, and we can branch off whatever way you guys like. Is this whole pesticide liability shield thing? Have you've seen this a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah, so just today it was going in front of the House Appropriations Committee, and that went through. So now it gets voted on, right? It's this one section, it's like a few sentences, and it's in none other than a freaking spending bill for a freaking bureaucratic office in DC. We have the Interior Environment, whatever group, I don't know, that covers. It's the Interior Environment Spending Bill, right? Which obviously involves a bunch of other bullshit. And it's like, this just goes to show how much these bills they can sneak anything into. Because even though this is a spending bill, in it, they sneak in the fact that from now on, any of these companies, Monsanto, Bayer, any of them that have created pesticides that are sprayed on mass amounts of food for not just this country, but around the globe,
And
they
they
can
know
no
they're
longer be
harmful. They know they're harmful.
Absolutely. There are years of evidence to prove it. Years. Like this is absolutely insane but just like Big Pharma,
Yep.
now nobody can come after them. And it seems like it's just going to walk right through. Everybody's going to vote, yeah, because the spending bill needs to get passed.
It's section
And
453 or something like that.
yep,
Yeah.
that's exactly it. Yeah, section 453. Yeah, couple sentences, that's all it
Yep.
takes. And then it's over. Nobody can do anything about it. It doesn't matter what disgusting disease, cancer, whatever you end up with, your loved ones end up with. Too bad for you.
Yep.
Well, let's pass.
They'll get off scot-free.
Let's pass the bill and then we'll read it to see what it says.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And there's a lot of people that are trying to do something about this, and it's not going anywhere. And
Yeah.
it's like, how, and that just goes to show, how many big forces are at play for decisions like this. Like, they just keep us so quiet, and they make us think that it's such a small number. Like, okay, yeah, make America healthy again. Look how many people were so gung-ho about that. And it's not to say they're not, but while they're complaining about whatever the hell else is going on, begging for these Epstein files to come out, and not that we shouldn't, but it's super easy to be 100% eyes on the Epstein target, and in slides this sneaky little bill, and now these people can't even be held liable.
And I want to go back to a point that we've made several times. Again, the wisdom of our founders. That is why the federal government is limited to 18 specific things. If they were only taking care of 18 specific things that they're supposed to, they'd be on recess all year except for a month or maybe 6 weeks to redo the budget. And all the rest of these issues would be left to the state and local level, where we would have at least some opportunity to influence what happens. But no, the central government, the federal government, has assumed all these authorities because we allowed it to happen. Now they are all under the influence of big food, big pharma, big military industrial complex, and they are the ones that are making the decisions. It makes no difference how detrimental this stuff is to our kids, to future generations, to the water supply, to anything. They get away with because they own the puke skunks down there that are pretending to be our public servants, and we are just dumb enough to allow it to happen. We keep putting the same people back in, and expect something different to happen. If we get a couple more Republicans in there, we're going to fix all this up. No, you're not. They didn't even read the damn bill, just like they didn't the last time there was a big omnibus bill, all this kind of crap stuffed in it. They haven't read the NDAA, National Defense Appropriations Act, since 2010 or 2008, 2010, has had specifically spelled out in there that any one of us as American citizens can be black bagged in the middle of the night if they deem you to be a domestic terrorist or a seditionist. You can be taken away, no jurisprudence, none of it, sent down to Guantanamo Bay. That's exactly why the Fourth Amendment was written. That is exactly why the federal government was supposed to be small and toothless. But we have allowed it to become a behemoth where everything is controlled by them, and we sit back doing nothing.
Absolutely. And not only don't they read the bills, they don't write them.
Right.
Yeah.
Where do you think these bills are coming from?
That's just it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who do you think somebody in Congress snuck in there a little line about how we can't go after Bayer?
Exactly.
Yep.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And the other thing that kills me with this is, like, I mentioned it earlier. Oh, okay, great. Yeah, we finally passed it. We're going to cut $9 billion from the Doge stuff. Okay, well, this bill alone is like $2.7 billion. So that's a third of what you're so proud of cutting. Good freaking job, boys. Like, what are we even doing here? It's all just, oh, the seals bark and they clap. Oh, it's like, it's such a joke, but
it is a joke.
Well, did you see the Federal Reserve supposedly is spending on office renovations $2.5 billion or something like that, and Trump made some noise about wanting to inspect it and see what's going on there, and they told him no. Well, wait a minute. You're taking taxpayers' money, I'm assuming. If they were spending their own money, why would anybody bitch? This is the federal bank. They got more money than God, but they're taking taxpayers' money to do a $2.5 billion renovation of the Federal Reserve Office, and nobody's doing a damn thing about it. The nonsense is unbelievable. It shouldn't have been $9 billion. It should have been $900 billion. And maybe then you would have said, well, Doge at least got something done. $9 billion is a slap in the face. It is just to see how silly and how much crap we are willing to take.
How much they can get away with?
$9 billion, it does nothing. Nothing.
Yeah.
Federal Reserve
Right.
isn't even federal.
Right.
It's a private bank.
Yep.
Well, I'm glad you said that, actually, because that kind of brings me into the next thing that I wanted to talk about. So I'm going to tie in what we were just talking about with this next subject. There's a lot of people who are saying, not just is this whole Pesticide Liability Shield Act problematic because it just is on its face, but also because it really coincides with this whole AI push and this whole control grid push. And there's, again, we can go down several roads here, and I want to go down one specifically, so bear with me. But as you know, the Big Beautiful Bill had lots of money allocated towards huge AI growth, right? All kinds of private entities expanding AI surveillance and AI usage in all kinds of equipment, including farm equipment. So now you're taking the ability, or our ability as people, to come after these pesticide companies, while in the meantime using AI, which can be 100% controlled by any entity, including the government, to oversee our food. Because now, companies like John Deere are implementing, big farm equipment that are powered by AI. Okay, so first of all, if that doesn't make you start questioning things, then I stop listening to this podcast, because you should be concerned about this, like, objectively. But where I'm going with this is that I'm sure you've seen the couple acts that have come out recently, the Genius Act and the Clarity Act. Now, these are all very much tied to digital currency, central banking, digital IDs. Again, surveillance, control grid. So we talk about distraction, we talk about deception. Yeah, maybe Epstein is a whole thing that we need to worry about, but maybe the only reason it's a big deal right now is because they're sliding all of this shit in under our noses. Mm-hmm. So you guys jump in, and we'll just see where this conversation goes.
We were talking a little bit before we come online here about the Genius Act. It is passed. Trump signed it. It is 1,000 times worse than the Patriot Act. Mm-hmm. This is unbelievable what they are going to, the little bit that I've learned about it so far, unbelievable what they are going to be able to do to watch you. You're going to, it may require face recognition or fingerprint recognition. They're going to know everything you have, right down to possibly your physical precious metals, which they are not supposed to be able to track. You will be required to report all this. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be, from my understanding, I was telling Chris and Blaze that it's like it's a stable coin where Amazon or JP Morgan is going to be able to create these stable coins out of thin air. So you say, okay, Amazon coin, I want to buy $100 worth of Amazon coin. You give Amazon $100, they give you $100 worth of stable coin. They turn around, take that $100, and they buy treasury. They're buying our debt because we're having a hard time selling our debt to these other countries anymore. They don't want it. They know we're on our way down.
Yeah.
And this one lady is predicting this will kick the can down the road another 10 or 15 years to keep the dollar alive.
And then it'll tank.
Yes.
Because these coins that are owned by private corporations, who, you just said it, they can create these coins out of the blue. They can just say, oh, this is our coin. And they're backed by the US dollar, which is already failing.
Right.
It's the same as printing money, only times 100, because before the government could print money. Now anyone can print money.
And now it's going to look sexy. It's a stable coin. It's crypto. It's something new. It's cutting edge. It's bad. It's the mark of the beast.
Yeah, and I think I think you're right. You talk about distractions. Is the Epstein thing? Is the tearing down of the Obama administration or the appearance thereof? is this all meant to keep us focused on something else while there is something much bigger and more sinister at play? And you know what? You know what people are talking about today? They're talking about Trump's going to change his name back to the Redskins. This is where we are as a society. This is the stuff that they're focused on. We're
Yeah.
going to
I'm
change it.
actually I'm so glad you brought that up.
I mean, this
that's on my list of things.
well, but you can see what this stuff is used for, and they know the mileage they're getting out of it, and they know 90% of this country is more worried about that than they are that they're going to have 100 times worse surveillance state to live under, and their kids are going to be much worse than that. They couldn't give a shit less. They feel no pressure by that. But by God, we're going to change you Redskins back to the Redskins, or we're not, or whichever side of that. Because we're sticking up for the red man, and they should have the dignity of having their name recognized. And the herd just goes gallivanting after that as if this is something that's going to have some bearing on anything significant. But that's where the focus is gone.
Yeah, and you didn't hear anything about this genius bill other than alternative media. It went through, got passed, got signed. It's law.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's not being. It's not like all these executive orders and everything. And you mentioned it. What happens now when midterms come? So now Trump is alienating a big part of his base by what he's doing. In my opinion, I like your opinion on that. But so what's going to happen in midterms? Like right now, but we've seen it happen how many times? We have control of the White House, we have control of the House, we have control of the Senate, and what happens? Nothing. We don't do anything anyhow. So now we're going to lose it. They're going to blame. Everybody's going to be pissed at Trump. They're going to vote him out. So you're right back. What's the first thing that the new guy does when he comes in?
Scrub all the executive orders.
Scrub all the executive. Exactly. They're reversible. It's not law. It's a shit show. It's a clown show. I'm embarrassed for our country.
By the way, did you see there was a Republican, not that it makes any difference, but a Republican resigned from Congress, which he said he was going to after the big, beautiful bill was signed. Now he did. So there's a one-seat majority. So it's already slipping away as if it makes any difference because behind it, as we mentioned, I think they're all working toward the same end game, which is moments ago came up, Mark of the Beast, talk about that small group that is seeking the depopulation of the world, gathering all the wealth, keeping the rest of the peons, and anybody that stands up is going to be beat back into submission or otherwise disposed of. That's, to me, what's going on, and the majority is marching right into the box without even recognizing it because we've chosen to.
And they know they have time. Do you think any of these people, even in the would all consider lower positions, whether it be any politician, they're not hurting? Are they worried about the grocery bills, the gas bill? No, they're not. And the higher up it goes, the worse it gets. They can set and wait us out.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know.
And what are they really waiting for? Because there is no plan.
We have no plan.
There is no plan.
Right.
I honestly, I think the best thing that could happen, and maybe this stuff is all insulated, but I think a couple of big EMPs that went off and wiped everything off, because we've mentioned it before. Everything down there related to Washington, D.C. needs to be tore down. No two stones left standing on each other because everything is rotten to the core. There are a bunch of criminals that have grown up within a criminal state, that being the U.S. government. It's been this way for a long, long time. They are just partakers of it. They get down there, none of them are going to do anything to change it because they're either not going to get back in. The benefits that they've had bestowed upon them are going to go away, or they're going to end up dead, as some of them have.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not going to vote your way out of this. No way in hell.
Oh, no, absolutely not. And that's what I was going to say earlier, when we were talking about holding people accountable and, you're never going to see any of these politicians in jumpsuits and this and that. Yeah, there's nobody sitting in D.C. or any other state office that is going to come after these people. Some of them might go in there with the intention of doing it, but once they're in there, it's just not going to happen. That's not how the game works. Sorry.
You're right.
The only people that are holding these people accountable is us.
Mm-hmm.
And this isn't a threat. It's just an observation, right? That we're the only ones who can do anything about it.
Right.
And then you have people, not to go back to the whole Epstein thing, but you might have seen the man who got arrested in Florida for tweeting that he was going to kill everybody on the list.
Yep.
Oh, that's weird. I thought there wasn't a list.
Exactly. What everybody that has any critical thinking capability left said, okay, yesterday you said there is no list, but now you're incarcerating somebody that made a threat, mind you, words, made a threat that he was going to kill the people on the list, but there is no list.
Justice only works for them when they want it to.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. That's like me saying I'm going to go out and hunt down every last unicorn.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Same thing.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
It's such a joke. Like, oh, it's a made up thing, but yet we're going to come after you for it.
Yeah.
And the reason that I bring that up is just because it's the simple fact that this idea of getting people together to take any action is so hard to do because things like this exist.
Mm-hmm.
A guy tweets something about something we're all equally pissed off about and share the same feelings about, and he gets arrested for it. Well, then how are we ever supposed to change anything?
Mm-hmm.
We can't have these conversations.
Yeah.
The thing that I guess brings me a little bit of hope here, is that think about the Amish people. We just talked about this with the raw milk. The Amish community, for the most part, do not use phones unless it's for like their business, which they are doing with outside people. They're not using phones. Yet they can get on the same page pretty darn quick when they have something that they need to rally around.
Mm-hmm.
It would not be that hard for us to do this. The problem is we're so in our phones. We think we're so connected. And in a way we are. Because it's not like these problems are new. They've always existed. But now for the first time we have immediate access to them.
Mm-hmm.
The issue with that, the other side of that coin is that it also keeps us from actually talking to people and making a plan away from where the little FBI who lives in my phone can hear me.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this is not a threat. This is just a general observation for anyone listening.
Well, the other point out of that you kind of glossed over, but I think J6 was a reminder. Remember, people, we will take you without just cause, without a fair trial, and we'll throw you away for as long as we want. That's what Lavoy Finnecan was out in Burns, Oregon at the Malheur Wildlife Preserve after they got tired of playing along with the folks that were sitting out at a shack out in the woods. Could hurt nobody. Just close the gate. They'll get hungry. They'll come out. No, they had to kill somebody to send a message. They had to run them off the road into the ditch. No population at threat. Nobody at threat. And they had to fill the guy full of holes to send a message to any of you who might think about standing up and pushing back. That's what this stuff's about. That's what David Koresh was about. That's what Randy Weaver was about up in Idaho. You stand up and push back, and this is what happens to you. And we sit like a bunch of sheep, bending further and further and further over, hoping it doesn't come to our door. Well, guess what? At some point it will.
It's already there.
Yeah. Denny, give me some more insight here. We've talked about a lot of stuff. We've rattled off a lot of conversations. Any other topics that you want to bring up tonight that are in your mind?
No, I think that it all comes back to the basics. I mean, we got to hope for the best, but you damn well better prepare for the worst. And I think the strength is going to be the small communities. We're very fortunate where we live, and I'm at fault for this. We need to connect more with our neighbors. I grew up on a farm. I'm not a good farmer. I'm not a good gardener. I can do other things, and I think that's the whole point. You're going to have to find, what you're good at, what you like. Make sure you're connected. And if it never happens, well, good. Thank God. I can build stuff. I can whatever, but and people can make fun of me. My own kids have made fun of me. But hey, when the shit hits the fan and you're at my door, you're not going to make fun of me then.
Yeah.
And the other thing, and we still have, this was, I don't know how many years ago, I was having a conversation with a young fellow. I was sitting on my porch, and I my son was there. I happened to mention the price of silver, and I thought that everybody should be buying some silver. This other young gentleman says, "Well, why should I buy silver?" He said, "I'll just come up and take yours." And I says, "Well, I'm sorry to hear that." And he said, "Why?" I says, "Because I like you and I'd hate to have to shoot you." But I mean, that's you got this is going to happen. I hate to say it, but I don't feel there's any getting around it. We
I agree.
cannot fix this, just like you said. It has to implode. It's going to. It's lasted a hell of a lot longer than I thought it would.
Yeah.
And with these new things coming out with these stable coins, and they're going to kick the can down the road even farther. And I just get so upset also. I have to say this, it's been on my mind. I cannot understand. One of the things Trump ran on was to be a peace president.
Mm-hmm.
How can you be a peace president when you're promoting war?
Right.
Whether it's Ukraine, whether it's Gaza, and it doesn't set well with me. And you have some of these war mongrels like Flimsy Graham. You think that I'm going to send my kids or promote sending my kids or my grandbabies over to some war that you think they should fight? Well, guess what, buddy? Here's a rifle. He probably wouldn't even know what end to pick up. Get in your
Yeah.
private jet and fly over there. You want to fight? You fight. People got to realize you got to say there's a time to say no. And it has to be what are they going to do if a whole bunch of small communities say no? As far as I'm concerned, the big cities are their history. They're going to implode big time. It's going to be a unbelievable mess. But getting back to the whole war and peace president, I believe Trump, I don't know when it was, says, okay, we're going to sell bombs, missiles, or whatever to the EU so that they can give them to Ukraine.
Yeah.
And somehow that keeps us out of
Is
Ukraine.
that, yeah, right. So that means, okay, so we're going to make money, so it's okay.
Right.
And you
Right.
watch these newsreels, and I don't watch mainstream television anymore. I don't have it. But they show buildings blowing up and bridges blowing up. Well, there's casualties there. You take Gaza. There are women and children, hundreds, thousands of them that have been murdered.
Mm-hmm.
And we still give munitions, bombs, missiles to Israel. Give them to them. That's not right. I don't care. No way, no how. I cannot say that's okay. There's good and there's evil. There's right and there's wrong. That's wrong. I can't get behind the man if he's going to do that. I cannot do it.
Yeah, I think that was a big part of why so many people voted for him. I mean, the first term, honestly, it was good. We were out of wars. Like, I think people really believed that because of that, after seeing it happen, they thought, yeah, it can happen again.
Yeah.
And it was like immediate flip of the script this time around.
I know. Again, getting back to your comment, was it all set up to be this way? I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
Hey,
I don't know either. Gosh, we've covered a lot of ground tonight. I honestly thought it was going to take us longer to get through it. We were kind of doing a little bit of a speed round, even if by accident.
The lightning round. Hey, I was going to throw up a couple other points I thought were worth mentioning. One I think is hilarious, and one I think is a bit of good news, which we also like to share. We don't want to be all doom and gloom.
I love some of that.
One I thought was hilarious, and I can't find it too far from the truth, is a lot of conjecture going around now that what's his name? Stephen Colbert? Was that his name? He lost his job.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Did you see that there's a lot of conjecture that he was a CIA asset? Talk about Operation Mockingbird or whatever to steer a large segment of the population with his drivel. And I thought, you know what? That's a pretty good observation. I thought that was worth. I got a chuckle out of that. The piece I have for good news tonight. Children's Hospital Los Angeles will permanently close its Center for Trans Youth Health and Development on July 22nd, 2025, after over 30 years of providing gender-affirming care. to transgender and gender diverse youth. So I guess maybe the glamour is going out of the whole tranny thing, and the Los Angeles Children's Hospital that was doing a lot of that is closed now permanently. And I say 3 cheers as of today.
Hey, if they can close doors in a place like that in LA,
Right.
then okay. You're right. That is good news. I will say that's one thing. All right, we're going to talk about one good thing that's come out of the Trump administration. The whole DEI trans nonsense has really gone by the wayside, and thank God to that. I mean, we have a lot bigger issues right now to worry about, but
Okay,
at least our heads out of our ass a little bit, right?
Okay, since you brought that whole thing up, I want to also make a note then, and I'm kind of making a bit of a prediction here. Rahm Emanuel is isolating himself largely from the Democrat Party and being very outspoken against men and women's sports. Guys cannot have babies.
Oh, really?
Right. So I'm kind of thinking that he's clawing his way toward the middle in an effort to maybe capture some of the folks on that side of the aisle that have some common sense. I'm just making a prediction that I think Rahm Emanuel will be a force next go around in the presidential election or primary at least. I think I mentioned that back a week or months ago. I mentioned that because he had been a little more timid about his statement, but he was on with Megyn Kelly, who I think now does a Sirius XM radio show, and he was on with her and pretty much made a much more forceful statement about this is way out of bounds, this stuff should not be going on, and I thought that was really a reach back toward the middle from Rahm Emanuel.
Yeah, fair prediction.
Okay, as we summarize, I had made a note, and I think I shared with you guys, I really think the Stockholm Syndrome applies to society at large, a big piece of American society, which is it's a psychological phenomenon where hostages or abuse victims, and I would say the whole country, we the people, have been abused by our government, develop positive feelings toward their captors or their abusers. And I think the whole country, because we haven't gone down and thrown them all in jail or lynched them all, I think we basically have developed a form of the Stockholm Syndrome where we just feel bad for them. They're doing their best. They go in on our behalf and they're doing their best. And I've come in my mind, I've somehow morphed that into, like a subset of the Stockholm Syndrome.
I ain't got it.
Yeah.
Denny doesn't have it. Me either.
Attaboy, Denny. That's why we keep having you on. Does Denny have anything else to close out for us tonight? Anything else you want to get in? I mean, you gave us some nice tips there. You gave us some good insight and commentary along the way. But anything else you wanted to touch on, let us know before we wrap her up.
I just want to say thank you for you guys and what you do. And I think you too and many like you in this alternative media is going to be a large part of saving what we have left.
Appreciate the kind words. Yeah, I hope we have some impact. Yeah.
Yeah. At least to be some sort of rallying point when push comes to shove, right?
But you better take care of your own. That's all I can say too is your friends, your family. You need to get connected because I keep hating to say it, but I don't see a way out of this. Times are going to get tough.
I think so.
Well, as we're talking about the fourth box, Bree, I know you and Denny both saw my note. I write a note to President Trump on a weekly basis, almost every week. I have missed a few. And I continue to invite him or one of his staffers back. So maybe one of these days he'll have the courage to join us here on the Fourth Box Studio.
I'd love to see it.
I hope so.
Yeah. He got the balls.
Yeah.
Well, we keep trying. I invite him, but or one of his henchmen, I guess, would do.
Yeah, we'll take any of them. Just give somebody a hard time.
Right on. Okay.
All right.
I got a Bible verse for tonight if you're ready for that.
I am.
For the weapons of our warfare are not of the flesh, but have divine power to destroy strongholds. And I think as we talk about the conditions we're living in, the Bible is a place to go to when you need to be refreshed, as we talked about last week, putting on the full armor of God, the salvation, a helmet, and the breastplate, truth, and all of these things. This is what we need against this war we're in. It is a war, good versus evil. All the rest of it is just blather to keep us focused from the real prize. Deception, as we talked about, is key to being victorious. So we got to allow ourselves not to be deceived of what we're up against.
Yeah.
And that verse comes from 2 Corinthians 10:4.
That's a great one for tonight. That is one thing I did want to try to squeeze in at some point as we were talking. I've had a lot of conversations lately with different people that I maybe wouldn't have expected that really, people really feel like the end is near. And we can keep talking about all this stuff, but if you're not right with God, then you got bigger issues. So,
Amen.
Amen to that.
Yep.
Well, cheers, fellas.
Okay, yeah, great seeing you, Bree.
Love you guys.
Until next week.
Stay vigilant.
There it is.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you so much for listening. We really do appreciate the support and truly love getting to share this message with anyone who wants or needs it. The best way for you to support the show is to subscribe, add a rating, and share with everyone you know. You can find us on Instagram, X, and at thefourthbox.com. We'll see you next Thursday at 6 p.m. Stay vigilant.